So usually, if people are using WhatsApp for regular activities these days during the lockdown, the activity has doubled or maybe quadrupled. So we are getting the same news, fake news from WhatsApp, and we are into the same state of mind. People are monitoring figures like cricket score, itna ho gaya, oh yahan aisa ho gaya. So you are actually pulling your negativity towards your entire routine. Now, this is the important point: align your brain for a disaster management. So the moment you have accepted the fact that you are into a problem, you are into a pandemic, you are into a disaster, your brain starts acting differently. I'm giving a normal life example. If you normally run or jog or run, you have a different speed. But the moment you have a dog running behind you, your speed fastens because you have adjusted and decided that there is a disaster, there is a problem, and now you have to manage it. So your efficiency, your body, your frame of mind starts behaving differently. So here the point says align your brain for the disaster management. Now, since you have accepted it, since you have agreed to it that you cannot do anything, you have to start thinking in a positive way. Uh, Corona will kill lesser people than people being killed by hypertension, guilt, and anxiety. Why I'm saying this is because if you keep moving around the same news, if you keep around the anxiety, you will have bigger mental and health problems coming up, and a lot of people will die out of guilt uh, because they have been thinking of what they have not done or what they could have done. So it is better to move into a positive frame of mind. Now, why I'm saying this is a phase of reincarnation. Why I'm saying this is because you usually get self enlightened at your deathbed. जब ये पता होता है that you're going to die, you have nothing to do. So at that point of time, you realize, oh, there is no chance of action, so I cannot do. There is no chance of decision making. There is no chance of any positive effort, and you're just waiting for a final call. So at that point of time, usually we get enlightened and we think of a lot of things which we could have done. So here you are on a phase where the death is roaming around just outside your place, and you're still safe because you're inside. So you can take it as a reincarnation phase. Now, what could be done? You could improve on what you had been doing, the way you had been doing. You could start afresh if your business, if your work, if your job, if your professional profile, if your personal profile was not going the way you wanted to or not doing well. You could start afresh. You could think of something which could be a restart. You could repair things. You could repair your business. You could repair your relationships. You could repair your communication. You could repair your interactions and your relationships, uh, basically. And then this says reinstall the software of life. So it's a space, it's a time where you can reinstall the way you're working. We usually, if a software is not working well, we uninstall it and then reinstall it, or we reboot the system. Now, how Darwin's theory fits into the current scenario. Darwin quoted, mentioned theories which are good for life, I think, from the time life started and till they will be there. So the first theory says theory of natural selection, which says that nature decides who lives and who doesn't. Now here also it fits well. It started from some place, started spreading. Some countries have started declining. Some countries are still on a rise. So it's a natural selection, survival of the fittest. People with the biggest hotspots or the biggest spreading areas, also there are people who have survived. People who have crossed the age of 70s and 90s have also survived. So it's not you who's deciding, it's nature who is deciding who's gonna get infected, who's gonna survive. Adaptation is an inherited characteristics that increase chance of survival. Those who are only smart or only tough won't survive. So this point, I would like to highlight that this is the time where you have to adapt, you have to change, you have to modify the way you had been living your life, the way you had been working, the way you had been surviving or doing business, or whatever routine you were following. There has to be a adaptation. Things will not remain the way they were before this pandemic started, and every phase of life has to be rephrased. Be it the way you work, be it the way you travel, be it the way you go for leisure, be it the way for your dine-in, be it the way for the foods you consume, your supermarket experiences, your movies, your PVRs, your holidays. Everything will go on a different routine. So I would give you some small bits or action plans which you can adopt in personal and professional lives. I'm dividing it into two, personal and professional. Let me start with the personal goals. So one is sleep well. This is the time where you have ample of time to sleep, to cover up with your maybe sleep deprived routine. You eat healthy. Listen to the news for 30 minutes in the morning and 30 minutes in the evening only, and not before going to sleep, because news these days is just one topic. 90% of the news channels are covering just one topic, and it's obviously a lot of negative news. So if you subject yourself to a lot of news, you are subjecting yourself to a lot of negativity. And if you go for a news just before sleeping, you will probably be in the same thoughts. uh, Build your family bonds stronger. This is the time where you spend more time with your family. You can repair your relationships. You can build a stronger bonds. Imagine or remember the last time you spent days together within the family. I don't think we have that phases of life so nearby. So it's a good chance. Listen to music, dance within the house with the family. uh, so these are some of the things which you could do. You could adopt a hobby. You could start learn to cook, or you could take cooking as a activity. You could help your family members in the daily works so that you share their load, and you don't just sit on the sofa or a couch and just watch TV, or just go for the news, or WhatsApp, or calling to friends. You can read a book online or offline. You can watch your favorite series. So these are the activities which you could do to repair the kind of life you were doing. You would probably move to a healthier life cycle, a healthier state of mind, and better relationships. Now, when I talk about the professional goals, I would divide it into three categories. One is for the entrepreneurs or the business owners. One are the second is the employees, and third is for the new aspirants or the future entrepreneurs. Because a lot of people will be switching the way they are living now. So maybe switching a business, switching their jobs. There will be a lot of job cuts. There will be a lot of business closures. So I have created these three broad categories. There will be a lot of common points for all. So I think I'm starting with the entrepreneur and the business owners who are currently in the phase. Uh, First is the first problem which you must be facing or thinking of is how will I pay salaries? How will I meet my expenses? How will my business grow? What I'm going to do? So I think instead of thinking a long way, I think what you could do is evaluate your current funds and finances, evaluate your fixed costs, your variable costs, so that you analyze how long you are going to survive with the finances you have available. You could divide it, and I think just not take the 3rd of May as the decision date. I think you should take 30th of June as your date, because the way the scenario is, it will for sure be extended, or the activities will be restricted even in the month of May and June. So I think you can manage your expenses, or evaluate your current expenses, and divide them into different categories, and see how much you can survive. If it's break even, if it's 0 0, I think there is no harm in it. A lot of people will have it positive. And the issue will be with the people who think that their funds will go negative during this lockdown period or a slowdown period. So for them, we'll figure out certain strategies on how to curb on certain expenses. Don't sack your employees as much as possible, because this is the time you're building your relationship with your team. And it's a situation of a disaster which has never happened. So if you stand with them now, you have a very high possibility of having them with you on a very longer time. So it would be humanitarian and professional both by not sacking them at this current scenario. Divide your manpower into two categories: blue collar and white collar. So blue collars are the ones which are usually the workers, the cleaners, the drivers, and the staffs which are low on salary. And the white collars are the professionals, the senior staffs. You can reduce your overheads. Uh, you can reduce your overheads. For example, you can cut down on certain rental costs. If you have acquired big warehouses which you're not using, if you have multiple offices, you can probably think of cutting down certain rentals. You can cut down on your paid subscriptions. It could be as small as newspaper in the office, or it could be other subscriptions like paid your services. You could also think of reducing your recurring costs, whatever is possible, without laying back any staff. And in case you're not able to meet the fund requirement till 30th of June, you can speak to the white collar people and ask for a salary deferment. So what you can request is how much salary do you want now, and the rest can be adjusted or paid in the months to come. But make sure that you're not passing on a message that the salary is going to be cut. So that is one way of managing your funds, because that will be the most critical part which will be troubling you at this point of time. Now, how to utilize the time. So as I said, that adaptation is going to be the rule for the game. You have to think of new strategies of doing business. There will be a lot of businesses which will be suffering for a long time, as we had been watching in the news, and we've been analyzing ourselves as well, uh, like aviation, airlines, like tourism, like hotels. So leisure spending, because now if you see the spending trends of the people are buying the necessities. They're buying the cereals, the groceries, and the basic items. Luxury spending has actually absolutely gone to a zero. So those who are into those categories, they'll have to think of new strategies to revive their business. They have to probably come up with new product, new ideas of doing business, new business expansion ways. Let's now divide the professional goals common for entrepreneurs and employees, because when I spoke about entrepreneurs, it was basically fund management and the future plan. But then there are employees also in the organizations who can contribute along with the entrepreneur to utilize their time. Now I'll be covering category wise or section wise. For example, the marketing team. Marketing team can build your marketing strategy or revise the marketing strategy. You can make your online presence stronger, because now I think marketing is possible, sales would be not so much possible. So whatever you do in the marketing would be creating a brand awareness, probably drawing people towards your brand, towards your product, maybe generating some queries, speaking to them, sharing codes, and all those things. All those activities can continue at this point of time. You can collaborate with a branding agency and create your online presence stronger, because a lot of, I mean, it's the time where people are spending a lot of time on the internet, on the phones, on the social media. So if you have a better branding and a better brand presence, you get a chance of drawing more customers or future potential clients. Enhance your brand visibility by branding aligned with the current scenario. Because now if you talk about something which is totally absurd or totally out of sight, it will not make a lot of sense. but if you could connect it with the mantras being shared by the government and the health authorities: stay home, stay safe, wash your hands, for follow government guidelines, and all those things. The advertisement also which we are watching on the television is again in line with the same things. Brands which are selling insurance and policies are there, brands which are selling hand wash, sanitizers, and all those equipment. They are giving more they're spending more on the marketing cost, because this is what people are aligned to think of, or aligned to buy at this point of time. So if your product is not aligned, at least you can have a message uh, which is uh, which is in line with the current scenario. As I said, you can continue marketing. Probably you'll not be able to do a lot of sales. You could do a lot of networking at this point of time through LinkedIn, through personal contacts, through various other portals. There would be a lot of salespeople. As I said, you probably should not expect a lot of sales to happen, but what you could do is, even as entrepreneurs or as employees, you could evaluate your previous sales data. You could identify your fast mover and profit maker products.
Hey, sir,
You could identify.
actually, your slide is not visible. Could you please share it again?
Yes.
Sorry, guys, there is some technical error. I'm just getting it connected again in next 1 minute. Hi, sir. Could
साहिल अब आ गया?
yeah, it's visible now.
Okay. So you could evaluate previous sales data. You could identify your fast movers and profit making products, so that you can think of maybe pitching them more, or maybe speaking to the operations to revamp the production facilities for the same. Maybe discuss with marketing on the strategies of how to promote those products more. Identify your slow movers and loss makers. So you could think of discussing with your R&D division on the product development, or maybe product refinement, or or discussing with your management on how to handle those kind of products. So this is the time, because usually when we are in our current normal routines, we don't have time to evaluate on the negatives or on the slower portions. So this is the time where you could usually do that. You could touch base with your own clients and revive your relationships. There is a possibility that just because you were out of touch, you have lost certain clients, or you've lost business opportunities working with those clients. So you can just because it's always easy to go back to an old client and network again. And you could prepare your targets for the future, your sales data for the future, as in the leads which you probably had before the lockdown started, or your data from the exhibition, or probably wherever you procure your data, like your data sources wherever you have. So you could probably align it, because you'll have to then, you could be more organized, as in dividing in terms of the region or the places you have to travel to meet the client, so that you could do more meetings in one day, if your data is more aligned at this point of time. Research and development. So this is one activity which cannot happen a lot in terms of, because the labs and the factories and the pilot plants are probably not working. But then still certain activity can be done from the desk. So you could enlist new categories to support fast movers being discussed by the sales and marketing team. You could research on ingredients, your new recipes, new formulations and processes for the products which are in the pipeline. You could plan rollback or upgradation of slow movers. So rollback again is like products which are not performing well. But then if you roll back immediately, then you have a lot of backlog in the market. So there has to be a policy designed for that, as in how to cut down the supplies, or maybe move the slow moving stocks into the markets which are low sensitive towards a product quality, or they are not so sensitive about your product specification. Uh, then you could develop your packaging and other stuff for the new product. So when I talk about development of packaging, you could speak to the vendors, you speak to the suppliers, discuss the kind of attributes you need in your packaging material, and maybe work out on the specifications which you want your client to have, or your vendor should have. So these things would require an internet and a laptop. So this could be done from anywhere. And then I'm giving you a bonus point. Think of COVID compliant product ideas. So as there will be a different trend altogether when the market revamps or restarts. So there would be a lot of changes in the behavior of consumer. And we could think of things or products which are COVID compliant. Human resources. Now, usually the organizations which have less than 25 to 30 employees don't need a HR. So the promoter or the entrepreneur himself is the HR for the organization. They could be planned for training of the employees. These could be either paid trainings or free trainings, but ensure that the quality of training is good, so that people can connect to or correlate to it. Uh, you could plan your staff motivation. You could also plan your strategies to motivate your staff post COVID, because everybody is in different states of mind, and they have a different temperament altogether. So when they come up, or when they come back to work, you can think of ways to motivate them, or start getting the best out of them. You could generate your future recruitment database, as in if the management has a clear policy or has already decided on what is to be done, then probably you could do your CV shortlisting, your telephonic or video conferencing interviews, and enlist people, as in the kind of people you would be requiring in future. And one thing I would suggest all the HRs or the owners to build an emergency fund within the organization. This could be either from the deferred salaries or from the savings, so that you can take care of a situation of emergency, which might happen, God forbidden, might happen within the organization, so that you stand by your team and by the organization. How to handle these kind of operations. So I would say, as a team, you could do regular video or voice conference call. You could decide on a time. It should not be like early morning 8:39, but you could fix a time of 10:30, 11, or whatever is suitable with the team, and do a regular video or a voice conference call. You can assign tasks per person to get the maximum efficiency out of them, and you could follow it up on daily basis, because usually now the efficiencies are low. You cannot expect 100% efficiency from the people. I think if you expect 50% out of them, that should be good enough. So if you could assign tasks basis the 50% defined efficiency, and then have a daily follow-up, it could keep everyone motivated, everyone engaged, and you could get the desired results out of that. Accounts department, you could complete the compliance. The year has just finished, so I'm very sure there would be a lot of compliance related documents which is still pending. You can review your bookkeeping. You can review your company ledgers to find out scope of improvement. Maybe you could analyze your data on head-to-head basis, as in what are the salaries, what are the overheads, what are the marketing expenses, sales expenses, and you can divide it with, you can correlate it with the revenue, and generate a percentage for the last couple of years or maybe more, and then analyze which head you could probably invest more, or which head you could cut down your costs. Your IT and the social media, they actually don't need the lockdown to be over, because they are fully functional otherwise as well. You could upgrade your website, you could create a good social media content, and increase your popularity. So as I said, there's a time when people are spending a lot of time on the internet and on the phones. So there is a high possibility of generating good crowd, provided your content is good and people are able to correlate with it. Find loopholes in your ERP. I'm very sure nobody can say that their ERP system is perfect or absolutely fine. So there are always loopholes which we tend to ignore in the normal routine operations. You could find the loopholes, and then you could delete bogus data and entries from the ERP, because I have seen a lot of data which is like obsolete, maybe deleted vendors or deleted clients, or multiple entries of the same client. I think there is an internet issue. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Okay. Innovate and suggest better data management and reporting systems. So this is the time where you know what are the bottlenecks in the operations, and you could suggest a better data management and the reporting system. I'm very sure the kind of organizations we've been working, there is a lot of issue with the ERP and the data management, because usually ERP and data management is considered to be the big company infrastructures, but I think small organizations should focus more on them, because this is how you know what mistakes you are doing on a routine basis. As your cash flows and fund flows are limited compared to big organizations, I think it's more important to have a vigil on these kind of things. And this is the time where you could actually work out on the bottlenecks, because I am very sure we all know our pain points, but it's just that we've been ignoring them. I think a lot of people have always come and said that if I had time, I would do this. If I had time, I would have done that. I think for all those people, this is the time. So this is the time where you can do whatever you have been thinking of doing, or you could actually plan or strategize for what you wanted to do. Uh, this is a special slide. It's a bit of our own sales pitch as well. It's for the new aspirants and the future entrepreneurs. So what you could do is that you could do a detailed market research. Again, I would recommend when you do a market research, you should consider COVID as one of the turning points. Choose your suitable business, make a business plan, design a fund status. As if you would have done the fund evaluation as per my slide one, you would probably know what kind of funds you'll be investing in this kind of lockdown or a business shutdown period, and you would know what further funds you have to invest in the new business. You could design your business strategy. You can choose your mentor or a consultant so that you know what kind of guidelines or what kind of strategy you have to follow. And you could create a commissioning plan. A lot of things can be done even now when you don't have access to travel, but still a lot of activities, equipment selection, your quotations, and all those things can be done at this point of time. So I think this was the last slide. Did you find this interesting? We've done a little bit of effort in doing it, so I would be putting on for some queries or for some comments. Please like us on Facebook. These are the contact numbers. This is our website. You can reach to us. I'm putting on the chat so that if people have certain queries, they can connect to us now, or you can contact on the numbers given below, and we would be happy to answer your queries. Also, I would like to highlight that we would be coming up with a few more webinars in the future. One of them is the future of food industry post COVID, because that is what our specialization is, and we've been working out on a lot of details for the future expansion in the food industry. So do keep in touch, and take good care of yourself. Stay home, stay safe. God bless you all. I'm just putting on the chat so that
Yes, sir. Actually, one of our participants has one question for you.
just a second, Sahil. Yes. So you can probably pass on the mic if there is a direct query. Otherwise,
Uh, just, I think there is some technical problem. I'll just dictate you the question from the participant.
mhm.
The question is, how should I handle the cash crunch caused by COVID-19?
Okay. So I think he missed the first few slides. That's what I'm saying, that what best could be done at this point of time is evaluate the current cash which you have in hand, divide it into the expenses which are there. Try to meet the expenses which are more urgent, like salaries to the blue collared employees, and then seek different other options, because anyways we don't know what kind of a scenario will happen post the lockdown is down. But there are policies from the government, from the bank. There could be loans on your running business or the balance sheet. There could be additional subsidies which are being expected, because I think SIDBI has announced a package recently, and a few more things in the pipeline. So I think the best way is to keep a watch on what is happening from the government side. Keep a watch on your cash and fund outflow. Try to adopt a lean, fly light model at this point of time, where you have the minimal expenses, and I think that should be it. Any other query or any other?
Not yet, sir. So one more question from one of our participants. And the question is, when can we accept the supply chain to be normal, as we are as we are shortage of raw material and packaging material?
Hmm. I think if you have heard the last address by the PM, he said that there would be a lot of relaxation in the lockdown, the way lockdown has been implemented, and post 20th, we expect certain relaxations in the lockdown with definitely strong directions from the authorities. Transport has been most probably released. So, as per my last information, there were goods worth 35,000 crores standing on the roads because the transport was not working. So all those things we expect in another, I would say, 8 to 10 days to be slightly eased down. I mean, they would obviously be not as smooth sailing as they were, and it would take some time for them to be operational in the normal way. But then there would be relaxations. So I think uh, we can end this. Thank you guys for watching, and feel free to contact us. Bye bye. Take care. Sahil, should we disconnect?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And actually, just last question from one of our participants. She has
Hmm.
just posted right now, like how export is going to conduct audit as lockdown is going on.
I think there are guidelines coming from different authorities for the uh, the audit policies, because we still don't know the lot of details on how the virus spreads and how it behaves. We are noticing a lot of changes in the directives from WHO and from different authorities. Initially, it was said it is not airborne. In between, it was said it is airborne, and then again there is a research from Japan which says it might be airborne. The social distancing distance was 1 meter, and then it is now 3 feet. So I think there would be a lot of directives post we understand the real attributes of this virus. But definitely, I think as I have been joking with people that it used to be, we used to call it before Christ and AD for the time which we have which has been there in the history. I think now it will be a complete revamp, and there could be before Corona and after Corona. So and it is going to go for uh, for a while. I think it's not just 2 months, 3 months. It's going to be there for at least 2 years. So we have to bring out behavioral and mindset changes in the entire way we work. So it's not just quality or not just audit. It will be the way we operate. It will be the way we work. So there will be a lot of changes for sure. And I think the directives are there in the pipeline very soon. I could see the comment box. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone.